All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the Las Vegas Raiders here on Raiders Daily. So be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button if you guys enjoy it. Let's try and get 250 likes on tonight's video. That would mean the world to me. So I saw a poll, and it was about 84% of Raiders fans felt like they improved the team in this year's NFL draft. I wholeheartedly agreed. We talked about it a little bit in our last Raiders video. Tyree Wilson, pick number 7. Guys, this is at least a future star. Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame, fills a huge need. Byron Young, Trey Tucker, Jacorian Bennett, Aiden O'Connell, Christopher Smith, Amari Burney. And I want to say real quick, I think Christopher Smith and Amari Burney, I think those two guys could possibly be the two steals of the NFL draft. So regardless, I love to see that Raider Nation is currently loving this draft class, because I think the worst grade you could possibly give the Raiders is an A-. I really do. I think, honestly, for me, I'm going A. And I would say I'm so close to giving it an A+, but I do think, we should at least wait to see till these guys hit the field. But at first glance, if we had to make if we had to just kind of take a guess, if we had to overreact to this draft, I'd give it an A+. I really think it was so good. So, I know the Raiders, just in general, their defense had holes last season. It was their big weakness. It was very inconsistent at times, but I think Dave Ziegler, and I really truly believe that the management and the coaching staff that the Raiders organization currently has, I really think they're going to maximize all these guys' potential. And it's hard to not be excited, specifically for your first 2 draft picks. Tyree Wilson, defensive lineman out of Texas Tech. You have Max Crosby, you have Chandler Jones. I know Chandler Jones had some backlash last season. I really think when you break down the film and even the breakdown the stats, I don't think Chandler Jones did that bad. I think it was just more of the contract pricing brings in kind of, a certain amount of expectations, and I totally understand that. But, Tyree Wilson last year, keep in mind, he got injured for the last 3 games. He should be back by training camp. By the way, he only played 10 games. He had 61 total tackles. 61 total tackles. 14 of those were for loss. 14 of them. 7 of those were sacks. So, yes, we could sit here and honestly nitpick the Raiders defense last season in every facet. We could look at the secondary. We could look at the cornerback position. We could even look at guys like Christian Gonzalez or Jalen Carter, who are still available on the board. But at this point, I think Tyree Wilson was an A+, at least an A draft grade for this Las Vegas Raiders team. And even getting into the second round, Michael Mayer, every single mock draft, it felt like, or at least 80% of mock drafts all season, or all off season, I should say, heading into this draft, every single mock draft had Michael Mayer as a round 1 tight end. Whether it was pick number, 15 at first to the Green Bay Packers before they traded away Aaron Rodgers, whether it was, in the late 20s going to Cincinnati, it doesn't even matter. Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame, is money for this team. We know that last year, Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders, they struggled in the red zone. Michael Myers is the type of player who's going to kind of almost really help negate that entirely. Keep in mind, you have Devontae Adams. Right? You have Hunter Renfrow still. You have Michael Mayer now. I don't have concerns, and Josh Jacobs, obviously. I don't have concerns for this Raiders red zone next season. So, as far as the first 2 draft picks go, they're money and money. Tyree and Michael Mayer, those are 2 money draft picks. Round 3, Byron Young, defensive lineman out of Bama. I think I touched on this in our last Raiders video. Any player coming out of an SEC team, offensive or defense, I am ecstatic about, especially a Bama prospect. There's just something about it, and we see it every single draft class. We see it every single year where it's like, all right, if we look at the college conferences, what conference has the most NFL drafted players? And the thing is, it's never even close. It's always SEC. In fact, the last 15 years, it's been SEC. So Byron Young, 3rd round, defensive line, it hits a need, and it also hits the SEC guys that I absolutely love. Trey Tucker, it does The first thing I thought when I saw they drafted Trey Tucker was I'm really curious about the future of Hunter Renfro. I don't think the Raiders are like itching and scratching to unload him and his extension, because at the end of the day, Hunter, when he's healthy, he's a stud. We saw 2 years ago in his last healthy season, he had over 100 receptions, over 1,000 yards. Like, Hunter Renfro is still young. He's still versatile, and I still like him. But Trey Tucker, the drafting of Trey Tucker did get me thinking, all right, well, if they moved on from Waller, if they moved on from Carr, even with the extensions, what does that future look like for Hunter Renfro? But that's for a different day. At the end of the day, the Trey Tucker wide receiver out of Cincinnati, I like the draft pick, all right? So in the round 4, Jacorian Bennett, cornerback out of Maryland, and then Aiden O'Connell, quarterback out of Purdue. I think Aiden O'Connell is the perfect system type of reliable quarterback that I just like the idea of having in my back pocket. If you guys have been watching my Raiders content all offseason, you know my thoughts on Jimmy G. I know we were like, Jimmy G went to almost the same high school as I did. Like, we lived probably 10, 15 minutes away from each other. Obviously, there's an age gap. I'm only 23, but I'm really excited about Jimmy G. All right, but I like the Aiden O'Connell 4th-round draft pick. What was it? Their 6th total pick in the draft. But Jacorian Bennett, cornerback out of Maryland. We talk about it time and time again. Obviously, Rocky Sin just officially departed from the Raiders from the time of my last video to today. And it sucks. But I think the overall team here, the points are really hit here for this Raiders team, whether it's the offensive or defensive side of the ball. I do believe the Raiders will be quite competitive next year, but I do want to state specifically with the defense, because offense will be quite a concern. It's more with Jimmy. You have a solid will be a lot for future. These guys are the type of players who in the first half of the season are going to light up the stat sheet, they're going to light up the eye test, and they're going to be thinking, how on earth did either of these players fall past the 5th round? But I do genuinely believe, especially with the Raiders defense standing as it is right now, I believe both fully, Christopher Smith and Amari Burney, by the time the season ends, I think they will have huge, valuable impacts on this Raiders team, where every Raiders fan watching these games is going to be sitting and looking up themselves and be like, damn, I am really, really glad we got those 2 cats, especially where we did. So that's really it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Raiders content. But the point is, man, this Raiders defense, I know we struggled last season, and I know it's not going to be perfect next year, but they're building the pieces, they're building the blocks that they need to build a sustainable defense. And I'm going to trust this Raiders organization to continue to do what they need to do. So let me know what you're thinking down below.